So we have Sarveshini here.
Hello everyone.
So for the first question, could you briefly explain what you know about the Altantuyaa Shaariibuugiin murder case?
Okay, so Altantuyaa Shaariibuugiin was a Mongolian national who was murdered in 2006, and her case became highly controversial because of the convicted two police officers. And wider questions were raised against her case because of continued public attention, and the case remained one of the Malaysia's most high-profile murder case.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for your input. And for the second question, I would like to ask you, why do you think this case received so much public and media attention? What is your opinion?
Okay. So I think it attracted attention because it involved a foreign national, and police officers and several controversial allegations were surrounding the case also raised, and the unusual circumstances of the murder and the questions raised during the investigation and trials made the public want to know more about the case also.
Okay. What were the major challenges faced during the investigation? Okay. What were the major challenges faced during the investigation and court proceedings?
Okay, one of the major challenge was establishing the full circumstances surrounding the murder and also determining the role of the people involved, because it was such a high profile case and there was also a lot of public attention, meaning the media, and which also made it important to separate confirmed evidence from allegations.
Okay, for the fourth question, do you think that this case was handled fairly and also transparently?
Okay, so I think that the court made decisions based on the evidence presented to them, and they were convicted of murder. However, there are continual questions about the controversy surrounding the case. Some people still feel that there are some aspects of the case that have not been completely explained. So transparency and public confidence remain as an important issue till now.
So how should the public distinguish between proven facts and allegations?
Okay, so in my opinion, I think that the public should rely on court judgment first, officially investigation and credible sources rather than social media or rumors. It is especially important to not treat an allegation as an fact unless it has been proven through reliable evidence or in court.
Okay. So, do you think that there are still unanswered questions of this case that is not being unsolved?
Okay, so yes, I think there are questions that continue to be discussed in public, particularly about the circumstances surrounding the murder and whether everyone involved is in the wider story has been fully accounted for. However, we should be careful not to make accusations without evidence also.
So last but not least, what lessons can Malaysian learn from this case?
Okay, so in my opinion, I think the biggest lessons are the importance of accountability, as a transparent justice system is very important to our citizens in Malaysia, and high-profile cases like this should be handled professionally and based on evidence instead of rumors in social media. And most importantly, the focus should remain on justice for the victim and her family instead of protecting those who are not victims but are perpetrators.
Alright, thank you Sarveshini.
Thank you so much.
The next day.
So, do you think there's still unanswered questions? Yes, I think our questions that continue to be discussed publicly, and particularly about the systems surrounding the murder and whether everyone involved in the wider story has been fully accounted for. However, we should be careful not to make accusations without evidence.
So, what lesson can Malaysians learn from this case?
I think the biggest lessons are the importance of accountability, transparent justice, and system and thorough investigations, and high-profile cases should be handled professionally and it based on evidence regardless of who is involved, and most importantly, the focus should remain on justice for the victim and her family. That's it.
Hello, we have Sarah here for our interview. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so today we're going to be interviewing her about the Altantuyaa Shaariibuugiin case. So, Sarah, can you tell me what you know about the Altantuyaa Shaariibuugiin murder case?
Okay, so Altantuyaa Shaariibuugiin was a Mongolian national who was murdered in Malaysia in 2006. Her case became highly controversial because two police officers were convicted of her murder. While questions about the wider circumstances and possible motives continued to receive public attention, the case has remained one of the most high-profile murder cases in Malaysia.
So, why do you think this case received so much public and media attention?
I think it attracted attention because it involved a foreign national, police officers, and several controversial allegations surrounding the case. The unusual circumstances of the murder and the questions raised during the investigations and trials also made the public want to know more about the case.
So, what were the major challenges faced during the investigation and court proceedings?
One major challenge was establishing the full circumstances surrounding the murder and determining the roles of the people involved. Because it was such a high-profile case, there was a lot of media attention and public speculation, which made it important to separate confirmed evidence from allegations.
Do you think the case was handled fairly and transparently?
I think the courts made decisions based on the evidence presented to them, and there were convictions of the murder. However, because there have been continuing questions and controversies surrounding the case, some people still feel that there are aspects that have not been completely explained. So, transparency and public confidence remain important issues.
How should the public distinguish between proven facts and allegation?
The public should rely on court judgments, official investigations, and credible sources rather than social media or rumors. It is especially important not to treat an allegation as a fact unless it has been proven through the court or through reliable evidence that has been established in the court system.
Do you think there are still unanswered questions?
Yes, I think there are some questions that continue to be discussed publicly, particularly about the circumstances surrounding the murder and whether everyone involved in the wider story has been fully accounted for. However, we should be careful not to make accusations without any evidence.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having with me.
Thank you so much.
One eternity later.
Hi, Doctor.
Hi, Shamina.
Doctor, I would like to ask you a few questions about Altantuyaa Shaariibuugiin murder case. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, first of all, my question is, could you briefly explain what you know about Altantuyaa Shaariibuugiin murder case?
Oh, about that. Altantuyaa Shaariibuugiin was a Mongolian national who was murdered in Malaysia in 2006. The case became highly controversial because two police officers were convinced of her murder. While questions about the wider circumstances and possible motive continued to receive public attention. The case was remain one of the Malaysian most highly profile murder case also.
Thank you, Doctor. And the next question is, why do you think this case receives so much public and media attention?
I think it attracts attention because it involves the foreign nation, police officer, and several controversial allegations surrounding the case. The unusual circumstance of the murder and the question is during the investigation and trials also make the public want to know more.
Okay, great. Thank you, doctor. And the next question is, what were the major challenges faced during the investigation, the court proceedings?
I think one of the challenge that was establish the full circumstances surrounding the murder and determine the roles of the people involved, because it was such a high profile case. So there is also a lot of media attention and public speculation, which make it important to spread confirmation evidence from the allegation.
Do you think this case was handled fairly and transparently, doctor?
I think the courts made the decision based on the evidence that present to them, and there were conviction for the murder. However, because there have been continuity questioning and controversy surrounding the case, some people still feel that there was aspects that have not been completely explained. So transparency and public confidence remain important issue.
Okay.
Okay.
How should the public distinguish between proven facts and allegations, doctor?
The public should rely on the court judgment, officially investigation and credible source rather than social media or some rumors. It is especially important to know to treat the allegation as the fact unless it has been proven through reliable evidence or established in the court.
Doctor, do you think there are still unanswered questions?
Yes, I think there's a lot of questions that continue to be discussed publicly, particularly about the circumstance and surrounding of the murder and whether everyone involved in the wider story has been fully accounted for. However, we should be careful not to make a caution without any evidence.
Okay, thank you, doctor. And last but not least, what are the lessons can a Malaysian learn from this case?
Okay, I think the biggest lesson are the importance of accountability, a transparent justice system, and true investigation. High-profile case should be handled professionally and based on evidence, regardless of who is involved. Most importantly, the focus should remain on justice for the victim and her family.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, doctor. Thank you.
Welcome, Shania.